Hey, what's up, guys? Gonna be a little bit light today. I'm not gonna do any shooting. I made a video Friday, and I was shooting the 440s because last week I got a lead melter and started making my own 440s. And after I made a bunch of them, I started shooting them, and I discovered that with the added power, they're flying apart. Sometime either inside the barrel or after they leave the barrel. Either one is not good. It was showing up on the chronograph as like 600 something feet per second, indicating to me that plastic was flying ahead of the lead ball. So I don't really have any way to calculate how fast the actual lead ball is moving, but flying apart like that is definitely not going to be good for accuracy, I wouldn't think. So I tried several different variations, redesigning the shells, and I've got 3 designs I have yet to test to see what can hold it together. And then I decided to try to shoot some of the beehive rounds, and the extra power was just tearing those apart. And I'm not really sure why it worked before. I think I had 2 things coincide with all that. I think that, you see, when you 3D print stuff, your filament can get wet. It'll absorb water. And when it prints, it boils the water as it goes through the nozzle, and it'll put bubbles in your print. And these can be teeny tiny bubbles, but they're going to weaken the structure. So I do have a filament dryer, but if you printing these tiny shells, it'll take a really long time to print a whole kilogram. So it's easy to forget and think I need to take my filament off and dry it. So I believe that happened, and I believe that coincided with stepping it up to high power. So basically I've got to redesign everything. The way I designed them leading up to this was with the least material possible, most elegant solution, and I did that for everything. But then you add all this power, and all that prettiness goes out the window. Anyway, I'm here about this because I'm really excited about this. I did not think that these were going to make it. These are Sergey's boards, SB 5K, and a crazy Russian postal box. I can't ever remember how to open these, but I kind of like saving them because they're kind of cool, and they're really handy for keeping stuff in. The way they're made, with a standard box we get here, you got the sides folded in, and so you're left with a big hole in the bottom. So if you try to reuse it, you gotta worry about stuff getting caught up under the flaps and whatnot. No, the Russians do it. Postal boxes better. Give you a nice little box to store crap in. Why not, But yeah, it was like March 4th. This was showing in customs, and then it stayed there. And I checked on it March 10th, and it said tracking is not available for this product. So shit. The Nabbit was going on, and it was like a week after that, before I needed to go to the post office to deliver the bill to somebody. And I was thinking that was going to be the last build I'd ever do. And I asked the lady, I said, can you tell me anything about this tracking number? She's like, yeah, it's in Jamaica, New Jersey. So, hot dogs, and it just might make it. Now, those of you who are from the FSC tribe, these go into draws blackbirds, give them crazy rates of fire. These particular ones, gosh, we put all the lower fire rates in these from the 2K boards. It's like 300, 400, 500, and then I can't remember exactly what they are because all my work's been way up above 2,000 rounds a minute. So these have like 2,000, 2,500, 3,000. One of them's like 26 or 3,600, and then 4,000, 4,500, 5,000 rounds a minute with a variable pulse in half milliseconds. It allows you to time how long your solenoid holds the valve open. It's really cool stuff. Yeah, at some point along the way, a lot of you guys never even see this, but I was talking to him a long time ago, and I said, you know, these boards are beautiful. You should really, you know, sign them somehow, put your name on them. And then the next boards I got had his email address on them with his name under it. I was like, it's pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it. But, yeah, very Russian thing to do, you know, as far as not coming across his vein. But anyway, yeah, those boards were made by a friend of his, local, and everything was done like right in the city. These are farmed out. But one day he asked me, he's like, do you want me to put your name on them? I'm like, well, I'd be honored, because we took 2,000 and fixed that, and it went up to, well, all the way to 10,000. And it's like, yeah, I'd be honored. So he put my personal email address on there. I never told him, but if he sees this video, I hope he doesn't, because I'm very flattered that he did put that on there for me. But don't use that email address. Use this one. But yeah, version 5.1. So we got 3 of these. And these. Oh man. Yeah, these were harder to get than those for a while. These are the internal air adapters. They replaced the stock intake with oh, I got 2 boards. Okay. I thought I had 3. So I can do 2 builds. And any of you I did a build for don't have one of these internal air adapters, hit me up. They're not as inexpensive as they used to be. I got to get $50 a piece for them. But these change out that, I believe it's 7mm, I can't remember the thread pitch, the intake. Strangely enough, the muzzle of a stock Blackbird will actually screw into your stock intake, whereas these accept, you know, paintball tank. You could screw a paintball tank directly into it, or one of those 20-ounce refillable CO2 bottles. But we stopped doing that ever since we discovered the shut-off valves that you can have your tank here. This is your air tube. It goes up to your valve, and we'll have a. We used to screw like a male Foster fitting adapter in here, like an ASA Foster adapter into there and run a hose, or we direct connect. The problem with direct connect with these is that you would always have your system pressurized, which isn't good for your seals. So I'd have to tell people, don't leave pressure on it. If you're gonna direct connect, shoot it dry and then take your bottle off. And you also had to fill your bottle up with it connected to the magazine, because if you try to screw a bottle on this is full, the valve will touch this pin here, lock it in place, and your valve will just be barely open. You can't screw it, especially since we deal in, generally 1,000 psi and above. So the on-off adapters fix that. They go between here and the bottle, and that way you can keep it in as close to ready as possible without having to fumble around and look for a hose, look for this, screw this into it. It just sucked that way. But yeah, so we got 2 boards. I can do 2 builds. We've actually got some old 4K boards if somebody wants one of those. Can't really do much on a discount because it's the same amount of work that goes into it. I could do something, but yeah, if you've got a draws, and a couple of you guys I've had to turn down, so if you happen to catch this video, I can do a couple of builds. Yeah, and then again, if you need one of these internal air adapters and I've done a build for you that I couldn't offer that, just hit me up. Other than that, oh man, these shells, they're starting to piss me off. I mean, everything's ready for stock FSC cranked up, but yeah, and I mean everything was ready for that with the 6-inch barrel, but after the mods, everything's got to be redesigned. I'm working on the beehive rounds right now, as a matter of fact. Oddly enough, the larger rounds, like the 490s and the 570s, I haven't tried the 570s, but I don't think the 490s, might not have to redesign those, probably won't have to redesign the 570s. It just has to do with how far the ball is in there, how big it is, how much skirt you have behind it. That skirt behind it is what's giving me problems, I believe. It's kind of hard to tell. I really need some distance to shoot and a way to catch everything. It would be nice to be able to catch everything before it hits something, and that way I could actually look at it and find out what's going on. Anyway, yeah, whether or not that goes anywhere other than here or whatever, I'm sure you guys will enjoy watching it and being along for the ride. But yeah, other than that, I'm super stoked that they haven't screwed up the postal system too bad between us and Russia. And yeah, just say a prayer about all that. Hopefully it'll be all over soon. I somehow kind of doubt that, but all we can do is what we can do. Alright guys, later.